We're just setting it up. One sec. I just have it muted or else we'll get a loop. Okay, well, we're rolling.
We're rolling?
Yep.
Okay, and then so I just do a quick intro and then go to 2D?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So it is 9 on the dot right now.
Yeah, so it's 9 and we're just going to, we have to do this today as a Google Hangout, so we're just getting everything kind of quickly set up. Welcome everybody in as you're slowly getting your stream going. We've got Alex Gaber. He's coming to us from New York. You're there at Disrupt. Okay, cool. So, like I said, it's just a little bit after 9 o'clock, and we're ready to go. Hey, Jose?
Yeah.
So it's Steve, and this is Jose. We've got Alex, our API Evangelist, who's coming to us through a Google Hangout from New York City. And we're talking API economy. Obviously, there's been lots going on the last week or so. Starting with the Intel Mastery thing. We've got Layer 7. And CA, there's MuleSoft and Programmable Web, so there's lots going on in the API space right now. Right, so what's going to happen with Apogee? I guess they're the Apogee WSO2. Right?
Dude, you're streaming that. Okay, Alex, we can't hear you right now.
He said you muted Jose. Sorry guys, we're just getting the sound sorted out. Yeah, Alex, you're going to have to unmute, I think. Sorry guys, we're just working out a sound issue here. I think you've muted Jose within the Hangout.
That's fine.
That's fine. Okay. I can't hear anything.
No. Did you mute him? No.
No.
I'm not sure what's going on. I can't hear you either, Alex. Do you want to join us in again?
Yeah, sorry guys if you're just coming into the stream. Yeah, we can hear you now. Hopefully everybody can hear us. Feel free to send us a quick tweet. The hashtag is Layer7Live if you can't hear or the video any sort of trouble. We're doing it as a Google Hangout, and there's been a few changes, so we might have to, we're flying by the seat of our pants. There might be a few sound kind of video issues as we go. And Jose is going to help with the questions. You have to get those ones out we got from email. So yeah, and I just also wanted to say thanks to early in April we decided to reach out to our Tech Talk, API Talk community and ask what you guys wanted to talk about. We got several responses, some of which we're going to have to actually, because there were really sort of serious technical questions, that we'll probably follow up through email, get somebody more at the engineering level to reach out to you. But we got one of the kind of the themes that kept coming up was API management use cases across different industries. And Alex, being the API evangelist who's out in the field, doing hackathons, promoting APIs, understands that market, the different sort of verticals that are involved with API management. So that's why we chose that discussion today. And I just wanted to say thanks to everybody who submitted a request for a topic. We'll get all your questions answered, not necessarily today. But I'll just throw to Alex to sort of introduce that API economy, the ROI for APIs, API management across different verticals, and just to get the conversation going. And make sure to tweet your questions with the hashtag Layer7Live. Or you can chat them in the chat window at layer7.com/live. And if you're watching, you're there, so it's just as easy as going in and typing your question in. You can also email them just to techtalk@layer7.com.
Yep.
And we've got a couple that came in last night through email that we'll get to as well. So if you're on the line, just be patient. We'll get to your questions. And thanks so much for joining us.
Okay.
Yep, I'm still here. I think Jose's trying to figure out how to get the questions through the stream properly. We've had a couple of people mention that maybe they can't hear properly.
Yeah, so I'm just making sure that they can hear or not. I can't trying to test the audio right now, but it's not working.
Yeah. So there's several people on the line, so watching the stream. If you guys have any trouble, hashtag Layer7Live, and we'll try to solve the problem. As far as I can tell, I think we're good right now. The stream is good. The sound is good. So sorry, Alex, you can continue. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, the audio is not going through. We'll just take a minute to fix that up. See, speaker audio not being grabbed.
Okay.
Can you try and say something for a sec, Alex?
Thanks. And Alex, can they hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. Just once again, we just want to apologize that we're having trouble with the sound. Which I guess doesn't help if nobody can hear me. We should chat something in there.
They can hear you. They just can't hear Alex.
Okay. So it seems like people can hear me, they just can't hear Alex. So, sorry guys, we're just going to take a second to try to figure the issue out and then get Alex to repeat what he had said.
Yeah, let's try again, Alex. You can hear it, right?
I can hear it fine, yeah. Yeah, we can hear you fine. So we're having trouble with the Hangout.
So you have it muted. Try it again, Alex. No.
You want me to rejoin?
Sure. Try that.
Okay. Look, Alex is going to go out of the Hangout and back in. Again, we apologize about the sound. We went through this last night and this morning. It was working fine. So sometimes when it's live, things like this happen, and we just appreciate you guys bearing with us. And we'll be back as soon as we can. There's Alex right back.
Anything? No.
No. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, audio's coming in. The problem is this guy is acting like a microphone. I mean, like a speaker.
Okay. Should we do it without that, maybe?
Yeah, we can do that.
Sorry, this is painful. You know, it seems like a lifetime while we're
Testing 1 2 3. Testing 1 2 3.
Okay. If anybody's on on the stream, throw in the chat window if you don't mind that you can hear Alex and I both.
Testing 1 2 3. Testing 1 2 3.
We see the levels on this side, so hopefully you guys are hearing us. Throw in a quick chat if you don't mind.
Testing 1 2 3. 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 API testing API.
Okay, Alex.
From the beginning.
It looks like people can hear you. Sorry, we had this external microphone that seemed to be
API testing API.
Acting as a speaker as
it
well.
was acting as a speaker. So sorry about that. Sorry about that. It's out of sync.
Testing API. Testing API.
Okay. Alex,
Testing
can you hear me?
testing.
No, is my microphone off?
Testing API. Testing API. Testing API.
Sorry, now Alex can't hear me. So one more thing, and then we'll be off to the races.
Okay, I can hear you guys again.
Okay, great. And it looks like we've got people chatting in the box on the live page that they can hear you. Okay, I can hear you now. It's a little bit out of sync. So sorry, everybody. I know we just burned like 10 minutes, and we were going to kind of do a lightning talk today. So Alex, if you don't mind, I'll just recap quickly. We were talking. We were talking API management across industries. Alex's kind of main theme is API ROI, and he's our API evangelist. So he's out there front-facing, talking with developers, working with developers, promoting APIs. So he knows what's happening in the industries across different verticals. And I'll just let you catch up where we were. Thanks, Alex. And again, we apologize for the sound issues.
Sure. No, I think so, Steve. You put it well. I think the reason we got a lot of these questions is we're seeing the API industry, the API economy evolve, and where APIs used to be simply for partner-to-partner integrations. I've been using SDKs and APIs for 15 years to plug into different systems. Microsoft Windows 95, building software for that. You're using their APIs effectively, their SDK. And what I think the trend we're really seeing now is this excitement around more opening up of those APIs to enable larger scale mashups, a combination of multiple different APIs to build a single application, just like we here at Layer 7 right now are using Google Hangouts. People may be dialed in by Skype. We're relying on many different services run over the web to power this platform that all comes together and gives us this. And so in my role at Layer 7, often I work with our customers to help them understand, well, we've got all these APIs, we've used these for internal projects, we've used these for partner integrations, but we want to get involved in the new innovation and new tech. We want our platform to be considered when that developer is going to build that next successful app that's going to include APIs from multiple different platforms. So what I get asked is, okay, well, which API should we open up? And then that's obviously going to come at a cost, whether it's just simply work and time or purchasing more infrastructure to do it. what is the ROI on those APIs? What are the business use cases to be planning for, so that you can measure the success of your API over time, whether it is for business-to-business partnerships and optimizing the onboarding of those partners, or if it's for going after more long-tail developers and or just simply enabling your platform to be accessible by anyone and everyone. We often look at these different platforms and what types of developers they're attracting. It may be a single developer at a large company that initiates a major business partnership. We've seen many examples. So as those are the questions that are coming to me from customers, and those are the questions that were asked for this Tech Talk, I wanted to just kind of illustrate a few success stories here across some of these different industries. So one of the ones I want to talk about is telecom. And we look at an API company like Twilio, where their entire business is an API business. That is all they are. They simply offer an API. And they are not ever going to build any applications themselves. They don't compete against their developers, which are their customers. That is their business. So they simply offer an API to send a text message, an API to send a phone call, and that is their API business. Even here, Fred Wilson of Union Square Ventures said that Jeff Lawson of Twilio was a great pitch because he came in and just said, we've boiled down telephony to 5 API calls. We've made it that simple to just simply take this massive, what we look at these, when we think of, oh, these big telecoms all over the world, are just huge, massive infrastructure systems. We often hear the word in industry of carrier grade, meaning very high scalability, high reliability. Twilio really is disrupting that whole model with a fantastic API. And so one business use case around offering an SMS API, and we're starting to see the carriers now offer these as their own APIs because they can. They have the infrastructure to do it, and they're offering their APIs. So if we look at a business use case here within the telco industry, GroupMe is a fantastic example. I was actually built at the 2010 TechCrunch Disrupt Hackathon. They were not a prize winner. They were just simply one of the submissions. And it was simply an idea that said, hey, when I travel internationally, if I want to text message my friend, I'm going to pay 50 cents a text message. That's insane. That was they wanted to disrupt that model. So what they did is they said, hey, there's this great Twilio API out there. Instead of 50 cents, it's a penny each. So we can let we're going to build an app and let users send text messages. Basically, very simple and no cost. And if any of you have used GroupMe, it's a fantastic, very easy to use tool, and it works great when your teams are traveling abroad. So it uses a Twilio API to power all messages sent. So you can see this is a sample of their app, but it's powered by Twilio as the API running it. And GroupMe, a year after basically getting funded, 3 months after they pitched at the hackathon, built their prototype, they got a seed round. A month later, they got $10 million investment, and then 1 year later, they were acquired by Skype for $85 million.
Wow!
And here we look at just with this business use case. I went and found some of the articles that were published at the time of the acquisition, and this year, Danielle Morrill was the API evangelist for Twilio at the time. And she's talking about what a powerful success story it is for the developer community around Twilio. So Twilio all of a sudden had a huge, large customer named GroupMe using their API, and then GroupMe gets bought by Skype, and now Skype's part of Microsoft, and we see that Twilio's biggest customer now is Microsoft. Did they have a fleet? Did they have a fleet of sales reps calling into Microsoft, cold calling, email blasting out? No, they simply put out an API, and an app was built, and next thing they know, they have a major, I'd imagine, multi-million-dollar a year customer in Microsoft paying for access to that API. So that was just one example, and I think Steve and Jose, have you guys used GroupMe ever traveling abroad?
Oh yeah, I use GroupMe all the time. When we're doing events, I use it actually with the tenants in our house, so we all get a message at once. So it solves the problem of explaining things to different parties who aren't in the same room at the same time, or email thread. Everybody gets the same message at once. So it's a great tool. We use it sometimes when we're out at events to get everybody at different parts of the hotel together.
Right.
Yeah.
I think actually, Steve, I know the Layer 7 team, when we travel abroad, we're part Canadian, a lot of employees in the U.S. We have employees all over the world. We're all meeting in certain places. Recently at Mobile World Congress, we use GroupMe, and it's a fantastic tool and made our lives easier.
Yeah. Do we've got a question coming in through the chat, and it looks like you have a couple of people who know you. Do you know a Cyrus, maybe? Cyrus and Aaron. So it looks like you lost a lot of weight. So you're getting chirped in the chat window.
Okay.
So maybe some of you've known in the past. But we've got a question from
Max.
Oh, sorry, Max. What are the most common use cases for the XML firewall?
Sure. I mean, when you look at the firewall, and whether it's being used for XML, REST, JSON APIs, or SOAP APIs, our customers use it for all sorts of different APIs. Really, what you see is in the example of, say, Twilio, where you notice they're charging a penny per API call. They're using they would be using some sort of API gateway, like an XML firewall, to control and manage that traffic. And as I look at a couple of the other use cases here, we'll see that not all business models for APIs are as simple as a single one-off API request for a transaction amount. They're often more tiered plans of pricing based on volume and consumption of those APIs. For example, if you want a stock ticker API, you can offer a free API for 15-minute delayed quotes, and you're only allowed to make one API request per 5 seconds. And then if you want to pay for access, you can get stock ticker quotes that are only 30 seconds delayed, and you can request up to 10 of those per second. And in that case, you're going to be paying for a much higher API access level to that stock market ticker API. And then we see that kind of how that business model for the API goes. Where an XML gateway for security and firewall comes in is that you need to enforce all that. It's one thing to say, here's our pricing model, here's access to our API, but what an XML gateway or firewall provides is that granular control over those levels of access, so you can create different API packages and pricing plans, and then know that you're enforcing them. And things like, just like we know with ourselves, to bring it down kind of into layman's terms, we talk about, hey, here's my cell phone plan. I pay $50 US a month, and I get 500 minutes. But when you go over 500 minutes, all of a sudden you're being charged 25 cents US per minute,
right.
and they need to be able to let your phone keep working. So you're sure you can go up higher for the overage fees, and then they need to have those APIs fire off a request to their billing system to let them know we need to start charging per minute of this usage. APIs are the same way if you want them to be, and you need a platform to enforce that. In that case, would be a soft limit from the networking world of terminology
right.
on that API, and that may not make sense for other APIs. You may say, hey, if this user's over and maybe they have bad credit with us, or we don't necessarily trust them, or we have a very high value potency API, we're going to set a hard limit. So those 500 requests, we're going to turn it off and flip the switch.
Okay. So the XML Gateway is like an essential part of API management security, or do you?
I would call it, so security is part of business model enforcement.
Right.
Just like at a trade show or conference, when you're charging $2,000 for a person to get in, you'll be checking IDs at the door.
Right.
So that's what the XML Gateway is. They're checking the IDs at the door, making sure that you've paid and you're the person you say you are. You didn't hand your badge to somebody else so they could jump in on your name and account. It's verifying that you are who you are and you have the right level of access.
Okay. Great.
Right. Yeah.
Do you want to get to the questions that we got from email last night? Sorry, what was the name?
I brought a couple more use cases we can go through.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Yeah, so another one I wanted to jump between, I think here, we started out with telco. The next one I want to just talk about is a travel industry API. Someone like the Expedia affiliate network, they offer a transactional revenue API, as I'd classify it. So they offer, Expedia is aggregating all the different hotels and flights and car rentals available, and then they offer an API to access all of that. and they call it their Expedia affiliate network. So one example that leverages that API is called Hotels by Me. So I want to point out here, we see that it's available in the iPhone, iPad, Android, and even HP Palm. So this app is built for all these different platforms. Expedia didn't have the developer resources to build this. They didn't have in-house at the time probably developers to build this. So a developer, a third party, I don't know if it was a company or who, went ahead and built the apps, consuming those APIs. Every time somebody books a hotel or a flight using one of these apps, it goes through Expedia, and Expedia would pay this developer a commission on it. So in this case, we're looking at a commission via API, but there's that incentive there. So the developer went and took the time to build it, and that's just another API use case. And this is one where these apps didn't exist. The company itself didn't have time and resources to build for HP Palm. You know, they're not going to allocate resources to do that, but they went ahead and got it done with having an open API.
Okay, that's great. What do you think about businesses like, say, Hootsuite, who actually their whole business model is based on an API or APIs? Jose and I have talked about this before.
Yeah.
So, and it's becoming a huge business for them. And can it, the rug be pulled out from under them at any time, or like how do you manage that?
It's funny, Steve. So Steve, just full disclosure, Steve had not seen my use case examples here.
No.
And actually, my next example here is a similar company to Hootsuite, and I could have used Hootsuite. I thought about using them, but I wanted to talk about brand marketing and how they're off, and what companies are like Hootsuite. So exactly on that topic, Hootsuite is building their entire business reliant upon all these APIs. And sometimes I hear stories of, well, a VC told me as an entrepreneur that anything, it's a tenuous business model if I'm depending on these APIs. And so we're starting to see, business contracts are based on API access. So in this case, I actually want to bring up a company that's sort of like Hootsuite. They're based here in New York. They're a startup. They've gotten, I think, $10 million in funding. And what they do is assist major brands with publishing content. And what Percolate does is taps into all the APIs for all these different social networks, and then helps the major brands like Budweiser, American Express. They have an amazing client list that's using them to surface what content from these social networks is valuable, based on this is just anyone in the world posting, I like my Budweiser during the Super Bowl, or the American Express saved my life when I was traveling abroad. I don't know.
So it's measuring sentiment across the web.
Well, what Percolate does is they mine the social networks to surface the most valuable content about a brand. Then the brand, because if you're saying Budweiser, easy example. There's lots and lots of tweets about beer out there. How do you, as the social media manager at Anheuser-Busch, decide which ones to retweet? Which ones do you promote? Which ones do you, which things on your Facebook page do you like the most? And they also help these networks, these companies who have multiple different social media management departments across the companies, aggregate that information and create a streamlined brand image online. But they're just like Hootsuite, so they are dependent upon this API access.
Right.
They're adding significant value on top of all these social network platforms by aggregating them and providing a streamlined, unified access point, just like Hootsuite does. But that's the thing with Hootsuite. And I think with Hootsuite, we'll also give a shout out. They're a fellow Vancouver, BC, Canada-based company, just like Layer 7. They have a very tenuous business.
Oh, looks like we lost Alex. Alex, you'll have to join back in.
Hello.
Hi.
Testing. It just gave me a.
Sometimes it does that.
It just kicked me out.
Yeah, but you're back quickly. That was good.
I was ready for it.
Okay, so is that a problem for these businesses that are based on APIs, where the control, it would seem to me, I don't know, is within the publisher, right? Not within the business
Well, I think if you go, even I go back to my college economics 101 class, and you think about building any business, you're building cars, and you're dependent on all your car suppliers. If the price of steel goes up, it's going to cost you more to build that car. If the cost of plastics go up, it'll cost you more to build that car. So just like building a car, Hootsuite's building this big system, this big machine, and if their suppliers increase the costs, that's a problem for them. And this is like, and then, well, let's look at, say, a big oil company like Chevron, supplies gasoline to us. Well, if suddenly there's a political battle across southern Russia or Central America and South America, where they're getting all their natural resource raw oil or the Middle East, suddenly now the price per barrel of oil goes up, and we see that funnel down to a higher price at the pump. And just like that, I think if Twitter, Facebook, Tumblr, YouTube, Google Plus if they chose to increase the price of their APIs, we'd see the consumer starting to have to pay a higher price.
Sure.
An example, Google Maps had a free API for the longest time. About a year or so ago, they said, well, if you're over 10,000 API calls a month, now we'll charge you. So suddenly those great maybe Yelp apps or GPS type apps that were free before, suddenly they have to put more ads in the apps. They have to charge you 99 cents for the app now because their cost of goods went up.
Yeah,
and if you apply those same economic principles to APIs, they translate over quite clearly when you look at the API economy and building your business that's reliant upon other APIs.
Right. Okay, do you want to get to those 3 questions we had through email?
Sure. Sure.
Because we're sort of kind of getting back down to the end of the talk. I mean, we wasted so much time in the beginning. But
sure.
I want to get to this guy's questions. And sorry, what was his name? Romana. And hopefully you're here on the stream, Romana. He sent 3 questions, so we'll start with the first one. How do you integrate with enterprise access management solutions to support SSO across and between web, desktop, mobile applications, and services / APIs? Sure.
So I think in Layer 7, that is a big part of our product solution is federating identity and providing a single sign-on type access across all these disparate siloed backend systems to make it simpler for access points, and that's a big thing of a lot of the projects we do. That was a big part of the CA acquisition, is that we provide a lot of these solutions to CA customers, and they kept finding us in Layer 7 in deals where we were the identity integrator, and that's a big part of our solution, is making those integrations seamless. If I think of, say, one example from maybe the travel industry and airlines, and I look at, say, a major airline, for example, they've got their ticketing system powered by a Sabre, it's called, and that's managing all your reservations. But then they also have another system that powers the customers' loyalty rewards points. So you need to integrate those two, so that in my mobile app, I'm going to go to the airport and I'm checking my flight status, but I'm also checking my airline miles. In my app, in the app itself to the consumer, it's a fully seamless entry point. I logged in once, and now it's getting access to all those back-end systems. That's exactly where Layer 7 steps in, inserts our gateway solution, and would federate those identities from the backends to create one single login in the front side, as well as logging into multiple different APIs. Let's say that an airline app suddenly now wants to let me get access to reviews of the restaurants in the airports, or I get off my plane and it's going to now say, here's availability at the different car rental areas, and maybe they're going to use the Expedia API. They need to actually provide that API access within their API. And that's what we call more orchestrated APIs or composite APIs, where this one API, my mobile app for the airline is logging in. That's it. As a consumer, they are using something like the Layer 7 gateway. Maybe they are. That's going to then aggregate those multiple different APIs to provide all that information into one app. So that's the kind of types of integrations we see there for, I think, with that first question from Ramada.
Yeah, great question and great answer too. So Romana, hopefully you're here to hear the answers. So his second part of his question is, how do you handle API's metadata? So API definitions, endpoint information, version management, etc. during development and runtime, development and operational governance aspects.
Sure. I think, depending on types of APIs, but once you release an API, that endpoint is being integrated into other apps, and it's locked in, and you never want to break that API access, and so you want to make sure that it's a seamless path as you do upgrades, API versioning, changing those back-end systems. If you need to swap out your server, you move to a private cloud, move to a public cloud. That's where having a gateway solution is key. It's that front door that never changes. But once you walk in that front door, you may be stepping into a whole different land month to month based on how you're changing those backends, and security increases, whatever. But that's exactly where having an API gateway at the front layer there for API access is key, and it lets you set that once in time, and then all these changes that you need to make dynamically in the future, you can easily do without affecting any of the integrations that have been built.
Right. Great. Another good question.
Yeah.
And then the third part of this question is, what is your stake on the threat surface on OAuth 2 and REST/JSON standards? Any firewalls built in your product?
Sure. So, as part of the Layer 7, what's great with the Layer 7 product, and even just talk impartially, Layer 7 provides, when our solution, we provide you that OAuth token server, as well as then the API management gateway. And so with any sort of authentication, you want to go get that OAuth token that's got a time to live, and you get that OAuth token, then the app signs all those API calls with that OAuth token. Those two servers are talking to know that they've been doing that handoff, and that's the kind of process to do it. We enforce everything with SSL for REST and JSON. Layer 7 participates in a lot of the web standards around OAuth. I know with people like Aaron Hammer and defining what those standards are, there's been a lot of commotion in the community for it, and OAuth 2 has kind of been a bit of a tough to get standardized. But what Layer 7 simply did is very dedicated problem-solving engineers set out what's just a smart, secure way to implement OAuth. And that's what we do with our products, is for our customers, is implement that, provide the products, the security controls around it, and we have an OAuth toolkit as part of our solution to implement OAuth, and it makes it really simple and easy, and it just basically lets our customers provide those kinds of integrations. And this can, in some of our customers, where such as major stock services provider, their mobile app, is they built the mobile app themselves. It talks to their backend. So me, as I have my stocks, purchases, all my stocks of this one company, I can open my mobile app. They're using Layer 7 to handle that authentication. And then we also power other APIs where they want to let other developers build apps, but it lets those apps get access to a user's content information within that network, but they don't ever want to have the end user provide their password over to that developer, so they use OAuth to let that exchange occur.
Right. Okay, great. I hope, Romano, that answers your questions. Feel free to email more if you have other ones, or chat them through the window. We've got another one in the queue that we'll get to, because, like I said, we're probably going to close down the talk in the next 5-10 minutes. So tweet those questions to #Layer7Live. Easiest if you're on the stream, chat them right into the stream. If they're complicated questions that you don't have time to sort of wait for the answer right now, email them. So it's just Layer7Live. Sorry, it's techtalk@layer7.com is the email. And we'll be happy to answer all those questions. So this is from Uzel. Sorry if I'm killing your name. It's Ouzel. So anyway, I'm in the higher ed and
Okay.
higher education.
Yep.
I guess, and there's not a lot of interest in public APIs. What's the business case for internal use to untangle the point-to-point spaghetti?
Right. Well, I
So
think
internally they don't see the value, I guess, is what he's saying.
well, this is where this is often my job. Is I'm brought in. They say, well, what's the point of all this?
Right.
And it depends on, I'd have to understand more.
It's a great question, by the way.
Some specific instances, but let's say that it's in higher ed. Different situations. So in universities and colleges, integrating, say, the admission system with their IT system, so that as soon as a student gets accepted, they get sent their email information, and they also have access to all their grades and their teachers' reviews, and integrating those APIs between the two by having normalized APIs, federating the user's identity so that they can log in once. That streamlines all of that process, and it breaks down that spaghetti and makes it, that's the honest truth. Is a lot of large organizations are a huge spaghetti of infrastructure. There's a lot of overlap. They have multiple systems that do the same thing.
Right.
And what they can do is, and what we help our customers do, is streamline that, simplify those APIs. And, I love that Jeff Lawson example from Twilio that Fred Wilson mentioned, that telecom, we as end users, and I've worked in the telco industry, these are massive, complex IT systems built by some very smart engineers, but often they can be over-engineered, and we have so much different stuff going on, and multiple different CTOs over the years have architected it differently, and they reuse parts and get rid of some parts and then come back to life later on. That's where APIs come in handy, is to simplify those integrations, secure them, make sure that you don't have any open holes, and then that's what providing API infrastructure can do. In higher ed, there's other options too, like gathering in information about for the schools. There's all sorts of different integrations I've seen with content, whether it's a book company. I've seen a lot of exciting stuff from the education company Pearson, doing a lot with APIs, offering them out to people. So there's definitely opportunities there, and as the opportunities make themselves more clear, we'll see more people jump in. But as that kind of still the API economy is just now evolving, they're still early on.
Right. Okay, great. Get those final questions in, because we are going to wrap things up. I did want to just mention that off the top, I'm not sure if we were having sound issues or not, but we asked everybody early in April, our Tech Talk database, the people who have followed us and stuff, we asked them what they wanted to talk about, and we actually, I just wanted to mention that Steve Craggs, looks like he's in the UK, middleware ESB SOA guy. It was his idea that we chose to talk about the API management across industry. So I'm hoping he's here. We sort of chatted yesterday, and he said he was going to try to make it. Obviously, he's in the UK, so it's quite a bit later out there. He might be at the pub. But if you're on the line, I just want to say thanks, and we hope we answered some of your questions. And thank anybody who suggested topics. Like I said earlier, we had some really specific questions, so we're going to get answers to those questions. They weren't necessarily, the stuff of a whole talk, and they were very technical, so we're going to get those questions answered for you outside. So I wasn't sure if that came through with the audio trouble we had in the beginning. And I just wanted to say thank you, everybody who's asked questions. I'll just ask Alex to kind of summarize, some final thoughts. Often we get one or two questions right at the very end. So we'll just kind of wait for a minute or two and say thanks, and check the Layer 7 website, the Layer 7 Twitter. We're just at Layer 7. Our Facebook page is just //Layer 7, and we'll have another talk towards the end of May. So keep your eyes open for that. Send us in your suggestions, something you want to talk about that we've never touched on. We'd love to hear from you, because this is really about getting your questions and answers and interacting with our audience. And we appreciate all your participation for sure. So thanks, Alex.
Yeah, thank you. And I just should also address, Steve, I think we'd sent out some tweets yesterday that we'd had a special guest coming, and that was going to be our founder and chief strategy officer, Dmitry Sirota. So he unfortunately got pulled into another meeting that he couldn't get out of. A lot of big things happening with Layer 7 right now with the acquisition. So I know that I'll just suggest Dmitry is a prolific blogger, and if you go to the Layer 7 blog, you can read a lot of his thoughts. He does a lot of these kind of discussions with customers on industry use cases. Obviously, he's been in the business as a founder of Layer 7 for over a decade, so he has a lot of experience from the IT solution and lowering cost of IT, or to the solution around open APIs as well. So please check out our Layer 7 blog as well to check out some of the things that Dmitry is talking about right now.
Yeah, Alex posts too. We've got lots of great bloggers on our roll. So yeah, great point. I forgot to mention that Dmitry was going to drop in and maybe talk a little bit about the economy right now, the API economy, the industry, and what's going on. And it was going to be, I was looking forward to it, but like you say, he got pulled into an integration meeting with CA, so that didn't happen. But thanks everybody who showed up. We really appreciate it. Thanks for sticking with us during the technical difficulties. We were doing a hangout, and we just had to figure out the sound. Sometimes the hangouts, they're not perfect in the beginning, but once we got it sorted out, we really appreciate people sticking with us. And thanks so much. And if we get any late questions, we often do. I'll send them off to Alex, and maybe he can take them offline with an email or follow up through Twitter or something. But thanks again, and stay tuned for our May Tech Talk. Thanks, Jose.
Okay.
See ya, Alex.
Thank you.